Hello, lovelies. Maybe you are just watching this randomly on YouTube, or maybe you're watching as we invite those who are participating in the Sunday service to slip off to the side because we're doing things in person that it's really hard to find a way to do online. No matter how you are seeing this, welcome. It is December 11th in 2022, and we are in the third week of Advent, which in the Christian tradition is the week of joy. It's the week we light the pink candle. Maybe some people know why it's pink, maybe some people don't. It's the color of joy in the church calendar. It's nothing too secret. But the interesting thing about the week of joy is that we land here actually in one of the darkest times of year. And so there is kind of this moment where we go, what do we mean when we say joy? There's a certain understanding that it's different from happiness. But the week of joy doesn't actually make sense without the other weeks of Advent. So we're going to go back. If you've been with us the last 2 weeks, this will be a little bit of a recap, but if not, this will be new. And anyway, it just makes joy make sense. So yeah, we are going to go back, and not just like a little bit back. We're going to go way back because we've been following the prophet Isaiah, the Hebrew prophet, all through the last few weeks. And we have another reading from today that is also from Isaiah. It's the next part of the reading. And what we have today is actually this response. So Isaiah says, the desert will be parched land, the desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. Which kind of gives us this idea of if this, then this, right? So we can't just jump into this celebration of joy without understanding what's behind it. What needs to happen so that, as Isaiah says, the burning sand will become a pool and the thirsty ground bubbling springs? So just a little background, reminder or refresher or new information. Isaiah is likely the most well-known of the Hebrew prophets, and it's partly because he had so much to say in 700 BCE, but also because Jesus quoted him more than any other prophet. And so you have this carryover from Hebrew Judaism into Christianity. So, what was going on 3,000 years ago in Jerusalem while Isaiah was out there raising his voice? Imagine, if you can, a city that had been ravaged by war and violence for generations. Jerusalem, 3,000 years ago. A place where there were long-standing feuds to the point where it seemed like peace was impossible. Imagine, if you can, Jerusalem like that, where one oppressive voice after another used wealth and heavy-handedness to rule, and the voice of the minority was ruthlessly quashed. Jerusalem, 3,000 years ago. So, in the midst of all of this, along comes Isaiah, and he says, this is the reading from the week of hope, Advent 1, he says, there is a day coming, hope. There is a day coming when the mountain of God's house will be the highest of the mountains, solid, towering over all the mountains, lifted above all the hills. All the nations of the world shall stream like rivers towards it. God will make things right between all the peoples and settle the disputes of mighty nations. And the people of the nations will beat their iron into swords, the iron of their swords into plows, and shape their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. War will be no more. Come, siblings of love, let us walk in this way, says Isaiah. Hope, he speaks this message of hope, the vision of God's dream for the world where love erupts from the hillside and the seismic activity of God's vision will shift the whole landscape so that it can be seen by all people. And it will be so compelling that humanity will reverse course like a river running upstream towards a mountain. We will be drawn in. God will heal our divides, and we will be so assured of our safety that we will completely disarm ourselves, not just leaving our weapons of war to rust in the fields of Ukraine, but to take them and reform them into farming tools, tools of cultivation and care. This was Isaiah's vision of hope that he received from God. So then last week, week 2, peace. Isaiah gives us the next leg of the vision of God's dream for the world. A day is coming, he says again, when a shoot of new life will emerge from the stump of destruction. It is a sprout of wisdom and understanding, carrying with it the spirit of love, giving direction and building strength. This presence of love will bring justice and calm, bring an end to oppression. Each morning, love will put on sturdy work boots and get to work in the world. We will know the vision is underway when we see the wolf playing in the field with the lamb, and the leopard napping with the goat kid. Calf and lion, cow and bear will laze about, grazing in pasture with their calves and cubs frolicking together. The nursing child will crawl across rattlesnake dens, and toddlers will stick their hands in the hole of the serpent. Nothing will harm or destroy, and love will ripple across the landscape like the waves of the sea. That's peace, real peace, peace as a result of justice. A world beyond weapons of war transformed, a world so safe that the lion might lay down with the lamb, that the child might stick its hand into the serpent hole, where natural enemies might live together in harmony and safety. People who were listening to Isaiah all those years ago in that place of war and oppression, hatred and enmity, made a decision to live towards the vision of hope, the vision of peace that he shared with them. It was what kept them as a people together, moving through hardship, moving in the same direction. They made a decision to believe him when he told them that God had a different way for the world and that they were a part of it. Isaiah shares with us a vision where justice and love rule the day, where we won't need home security or pepper spray or tanks or missile defense systems, where neighbor will actually love neighbor. Last week I referred to the book Namwayut by Chief Robert Joseph. Namwayut, if you remember, is a Kwakula word that means we are one. And he reflects in the introduction that reconciliation embodies the spirit of Namwayut, the idea that we are all one people, one community, one environment, one spirit, the music of the interconnected everything that we are together. And he came to this deep understanding after a vision he received from Creator many years previous, a vision for what could be in the face of what actually was. And the vision that he lives, just like the vision Isaiah proclaimed, is peace, where we can all come to know a justice so big, so bold, where all are loved and included and connected, that peace might come as a result. And so what happens? What do we catch glimpses of God's great big vision in the world? What do we catch glimpses of it actually in action? It's the only response we possibly could have. It is joy. And not just us. Isaiah writes about the whole of creation being in what seems to be impossible jubilation and joy. Crocus blooms in the desert, flowing, fresh, clean, living water on every reserve. Lush, fertile soil, unpaved and returned to paradise. Ancient songs and language revived and shared. Chief Joseph recalls in his book, when he looked over the sea of people, that first walk for reconciliation in 2013, that he felt peace, that he understood the small and simple and the universe and universal. He saw peace and justice in action, and he felt joy. If this, then this. If we make a decision to believe Isaiah's vision for God's dream for the world and work towards it, the natural outcome is just pure joy. And that makes sense to us, right? When do we feel joy? Not happiness, which is good and important and wonderful, but that deep, embodied, in your guts joy. When do we feel it? In my experience, people feel it most easily when we are taking action for the common good, when we're doing something for someone else, when we're being of service in some way. This thing that happened last month has continued to swirl about in my head as we were exploring what is faith, and one of our members shared that faith is a decision to live as though there is a loving God. And I keep coming back to it because really all of these weeks of Advent, hope, peace, joy, and next week love, all of these is a decision. But here's the thing about decisions. That action is actually the follow-through of a decision. So really each of these, hope, peace, joy, love, is a verb. So today I invite you to consider how you might decide to live into Isaiah's description of God's vision for the world. How might you decide to embody hope today? How can you walk about in your body with peace as an action? How can you choose an action today that you know will add joy to the world? Maybe we can learn to say yes to God's great big vision of hope today, to God's vision of peace as a result of justice, and may we take action in that direction, trusting that joy will come. Joy will come. Amen.